All right, we live. Me in here with oyster sauce. Man, huge decision today to overturn the Roe v. Wade. And social media is going insane. I mean, Oyster, what is your thoughts on this, man?
I think that there's going to be some violence. There's going to be protesting. This is going to be like probably tonight. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if things start burning tonight. Depending on where you go, you know, Portland. I wouldn't be surprised to see Portland pop, Seattle, San Francisco. This is it's gonna be a rough go, but it doesn't surprise me. Everything else has gone to hell, you know. So it doesn't really surprise me that this has happened. And unfortunately, you know, the relationship between the Democrats and Republicans has become completely soured, you know, and they just keep one-upping each other. And I think this is just the latest iteration of that. Who can go farther and farther? Nobody thought this was going to happen. I'm pretty sure you could find me on video a couple years ago saying, that's not going to happen. I was wrong. I didn't think there was the will to do it, personally.
Well, man, I'm gonna tell you what I think, man. And things like this, I don't like to take a definite side, but I will say, if I'm not going to take a side, I will say this is a huge blow to a lot of women, from what I'm seeing, from what I'm hearing from them. I see both sides. I mean, when it comes to should women be able to judge their own bodies, or judge what they do with their own bodies? That's a very valid point, and I don't want to be insensitive to that. But at the same time, abortions are a sticky situation. I mean, if you get a girl pregnant as a man, and I'm asking you this because I don't know for sure, there's no way you to stop a woman if she says she wants an abortion, right? And if women say it takes two to tango, and both people should be equally responsible, I can see some men's points that are like, plus the religious aspect. We'll leave that out. Of course, religiously, Christians are probably very against abortions entirely, but just in general, the fairness, it did lean a lot towards the woman. So I'm not going to take a side, but I will say I can see both sides. I don't know, what side are you on in this? Because you're a little older than me. You this is all brand new to me. But I mean, you tell me what you think.
Okay. So to break down the whole situation, right? There's arguments. There's amazing arguments on both sides, but we also have to look at the decision that's just come down. The decision that's just come down doesn't outlaw anything. The decision that just came down is just instantiating what is in the Constitution. The Constitution is very clear that any law that is not enumerated in the Constitution should be decided by the states. That is why Roe versus Wade was just overturned. It doesn't really have anything to do with a women's right to choose. This has to do because it's unconstitutional. They've known it was unconstitutional for a long time. Everybody agrees it's unconstitutional. It's not really debate. You can clearly see it. It's not in the Constitution. If it's not in the Constitution, it's up to the states to decide. But there hasn't been the political will to overturn it. Okay? So now that apparently there's the political will to actually overturn it, there's arguments to be made on both sides. The best argument I've ever heard was from a man named Christopher Hitchens, rest in peace. He was a writer for Vanity Fair, and one of the main people that was involved. He was called one of the Four Horsemen, and he was one of the main people, one of the main journalists and intellectuals that brought about bringing down the Catholic Church. And he spoke out a lot about abortion and women's rights. He says, I'm going to paraphrase here, the best way to relieve poverty anywhere in the world is to give women control over their reproductive cycle. It doesn't matter anywhere you go. If you do this, he said it funny. He said, you give them control of the reproductive cycle, throw them a handful of corn if you can afford it, and just leave them alone, and the floor will rise, because you double the workforce, right? Not double, but whenever you let women control their reproductive cycle, all of a sudden you have a whole bunch more people that can work that aren't perpetually pregnant. Women in the Middle East, where contraception is illegal, are perpetually pregnant, right? All the time. So you take away, or you double your workforce. Now that actually that has a knock-on effect. The knock-on effect whenever you double the workforce is wages stagnate, which is what has happened in America since women have entered the workforce. But you double productivity because you double the workforce, right? So, but then you also, before, it kind of wasn't acceptable, right? It didn't used to really be acceptable for a man not to have like a job, right, and be productive and things of this nature. Well, now you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can basically do whatever you want. Now everybody's got a point of view and everybody's live and let live. Okay, whatever. But by letting women fill in that role, I shouldn't say letting, that's not the right word, but by women filling in the role, that other work role, doubling the workforce, this allowed a bunch of men to fall out of the bottom. To just, because before it was a 50-50 population and every woman needed to be taken care of, right? It's not like that anymore. They don't need to be. How many of them don't need a man at all? So openly say they don't need a man. So this is where the bottom fell out of everything for men, right?
Right.
So your country will get richer if you allow women to control the reproductive cycle. And if you are concerned with what will happen with your country, if you would like American hegemony to continue, if you would like us to be the world's police force, right? Because the idea is there's always going to be a superpower, so someone's going to be running the world. Us, China, pick whoever you want, but you got to choose a side. Someone's got to run the world, right? So
right.
If we want to maintain our hegemony, we basically have to allow women to control the reproductive cycles, and that's just politics right there, like geopolitics.
Well, I mean, it's done now. Since it's done now, I mean, where do we go from here? Like you said, it's going to be a lot of rioting, a whole lot of pushback. I can see it right now, man. Social media is going insane, and for people like me and you, and most people like us who are, I would say we're moderate. You know, we see both sides. We're not going to just say all the way one or other. We can see that it's a sticky situation, no matter what side you're on. But I'm definitely not for the rioting and the loot. I mean, I know it has to go down, but man, I just don't want this to divide us even more than we were already divided in the first place. You know what I mean? It's very unfortunate. But there's only like 30 states that are going to, or it's only like half the states is going to go for banning abortions, right? It's going to be states that do it, or
there's what is in effect right now is what are called trigger laws. Mm-hmm. And so as of this morning, whenever the Supreme Court made its ruling, it automatically triggered laws in 14 states, I believe. Don't quote me on that exactly, but I believe it's 14 states. And it's the usual culprits: Utah, Wyoming, Mississippi, Missouri, Texas, Florida. Actually, I don't know Florida. Florida could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But it's the usual ones: Kentucky, West Virginia. No, not West
a lot of southern states.
Yeah. It's basically all the ones you would think. And then there's in the middle ones. There's some more states that are in the middle that they are likely to enact laws. You're looking at like Iowa. You know what I mean? So the states that are kind of on the border. Purple states, politically purple states. And so it's illegal in 14 states this morning just by that happening. Now, one thing I would say is that, like Wyoming, think about this. What would you do? This is a capitalist society. If you live in Colorado, which we allow abortion way longer than we should. Let's put it that way. Up to I think the end. I literally think you can get an abortion all the way up till birth, basically. and Colorado. I think we're one of those states. Okay, so if you can do that here, and Wyoming is just a 2-hour drive, it's just 2 hours to the border. Why wouldn't I just go start an abortion clinic on the border? Right? I mean, if we're thinking about it realistically,
I think that's what's going to happen too. I think that's what the solution is going to be. I don't think it's going to be this all or nothing that a lot of people are freaking out about. I do think if you want an abortion, there's going to be a way for you to get it. You're just going to have to drive. You're just going to have to drive. I'll say this: a lot of women are, protesting. They're upset, and I get it. But is there any way you see that this can go back? Can this be overturned? Can the overturn ever be overturned, or do you think this is pretty much how it's going to be for the foreseeable future?
Not in its current form, because as I said before, it's clearly unconstitutional. It was just a bad law. It was really a bad law, and they pushed it through because it was in the middle of the women's movement. It was like the George Floyd era. How they were pushing all different kinds of stuff through. That
right.
Maybe wouldn't have got through whatever. They pushed it through.
More off emotion than logic at the time.
Yeah. They set policy off of emotion, and it's just not a constitutional law. They've got to do something else. But I don't see how. You're going to be able to federally protect it. The Constitution says if it's not spelled out here, it's up to the states to decide. That's what keeps the division of powers throughout the state. You know what I mean? That's why states don't cooperate with each other. And that's the thing is okay, whenever the pandemic comes along, these people want to get on the news and they want to talk about, these states, the red states, look at Florida, da-da-da-da-da. They don't want to cooperate. You know what I mean? So they don't want to, they're mad because Florida wanted to go its own way with the virus, but they want a federal umbrella to tell all the states what to do, you know what I mean, with abortion. Somebody has to claw back what the state is grabbing, because every time there's a crisis, Saul Alinsky was the man who taught Obama and Hillary Clinton everything that they knew. He wrote a book called Rules for Radicals. He did some time in prison. He was a member of the Weathermen. And one of his famous quotes, probably the most famous quote he ever said, was never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is a Democrat standard. They take it to heart. And they don't. Whenever, and if things are inflamed, they go for it,
Right.
I don't see how it gets overturned. No. I think it stays the way that it is. The question is, does it affect the elections?
I'm going to say this. Oh man, the Democrats are at work right now. They are, when they sense emotion, that's when they're at their best. When everybody's super emotional, that's when they're at their best. So you know me, I'm very conservative with the way I think. I'm very conservative the way I think, and I definitely noticed when the Roe v. Wade was overturned, all I saw was the Democratic talking points, the push for in my mind, it's just a push to fan the flames. You know what I'm saying? And I think they're eating this up. I think this will help them in the election. I think this will help Democrats in the election because everybody's emotional. But I mean, really, when we get down to it, I'm going to say something a lot of people don't want to say. Man, a lot of people just need to stop having unprotected sex, having random hookups, and not thinking about the consequences of their actions. I mean, that's what this comes down to. I mean, I know accidents do happen, and we're not talking about grapes. Grapes is a different argument all along. Now, with grapes, I do see the women's point on that. If that situation happens, albeit you should be able to have the abortion, no problem. I don't know if that's affected or anything, or if they have a clause for that. But like I say, man, I think this whole thing, the whole topic of abortion, is kind of overblown because all this stuff is kind of new. Like, did they have abortions back in the day? Back in the 1800s and 1700s, was that a thing?
They. Oh wow.
Is this a law? Is this something?
Okay.
How
So
long? Yeah,
let's get into some history. I figured you knew this. I was gonna
I
try to bring
didn't.
it up, and I figured you knew this. So she didn't invent abortion, but we're gonna talk about the modern iteration of Planned Parenthood, right? You know what Planned Parenthood is, right? You know who
Right.
started Planned Parenthood? Margaret Sanger.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was a eugenicist. She believed in the master race. She believed in breeding people out. The goal was the goal of Planned Parenthood initially was to, if I remember the exact verbiage, was to undesirables is what they were called. She was talking about black children. Planned Parenthood was started as an attempt to control the black population.
Wow.
Okay, she was an open racist. She was a eugenicist. She was on board with all the Hitler stuff, the master race. You know, what I mean, she wasn't a Nazi, but she was on board with she was a smart woman. She wasn't stupid. She was a smart woman, and so she created this to control people of color having children. And here, this is in, I believe, the 20s. But don't hold me to that. But we go 100 years later, and black people and Native Americans, for some reason, seem to be the only race that isn't growing in the United States. Black Americans. They've been 13% forever. 12 to 13% of the American population forever. How come they're not getting any bigger? Why isn't there more? The Mexicans keep growing, right? That's why Planned Parenthood was started. Now, obviously, they've pivoted since then, and now it's about women's health. We talk about women's health, and they've somewhat detached themselves from Margaret Sanger. You don't hear much about Margaret Sanger. They don't bring her up, and they don't like to hear it whenever you bring it up in college either. The teachers don't want to hear that shit, but they know it's true. They just move on. You know what I mean? They don't tell you you're wrong. They just move on. So, yeah, Planned Parenthood in America was started as a woman who wanted to suppress black children.
Man. This is just crazy, man. Where do you lean? Are you more conservative, or are you because you said before you had some liberal views. I don't know, like, where do you sit with all this when it comes to abortion? Are you pro-choice or pro-life? Which one?
I believe in freedom, and I don't believe that I get to tell other people what to do. And I believe that that's what this country was founded on. And I think we have to default towards freedom. Whenever the question arises, we have to default towards keeping our hands off of other people and what they're doing. I don't support abortion, not at all. I would be devastated if a woman had an abortion with my kid. I can't imagine I'd talk to her. We wouldn't be on good terms or anything like that after that. You know what I mean? I'm definitely against it on a personal level, but yeah, it's just not. As soon as you open that door, it's just like with this vaccine, right? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. The government has no business in your body. That's what I think. The government just has no business, you know. Now, I understand there's a million trick bags and there's a million arguments. Like you said, the dad can't choose to abort the baby. The dad can't choose to have the baby. The dad can't choose if he wants to abort it and she says, okay, well, I'm going to have it. Well, can I just sign away this child support? I don't got to pay it because I don't want that baby. I didn't want it. But you can't do that. So the man's stuck. They've created like a trap where the man's stuck either way. So I understand. So
and you just laid out a lot of males' point of view on that. That's the biggest thing with us is, I mean, we're in this situation. It's like, because I like to see women's point of view, But over the years, they have gotten a lot of power with this, and which they deserve. They hold the baby. They hold the baby for 9 months, so I get why everything kind of leans in their favor. But we both need to share some of the responsibility. And if the man can't tell a woman to have an abortion, and she can't, and she's the only one that can have the abortion, I can see the argument that a lot of men have. So I do see that as well, same as you said. But man, this is just all around. To me, I just feel like this battle ain't over, man. I don't know, like people are going crazy, and you said there's absolutely nothing people can do, no matter if they riot, no matter how much they cry, no matter how much they scream. The government, the decision is final, pretty much. Wow.
It would take. I mean, it's final for years. Basically, someone's got to die. What? Now, let me ask you this. Do you know, because I know that the media don't talk about it. Maybe you know about this, maybe you don't. Somebody showed up at the house of a Supreme Court justice like a month ago with a gun, an assassination attempt. And whenever they pressed Jen Psaki about it, the White House press secretary, she made some nonsense comments. She didn't say he shouldn't have done that. I mean, that's unfortunately what I think they want. The Democrats are hoping that a Supreme Court justice will die, because that's what happens. Whenever one dies or resigns, then the president who's in charge gets to elect the next one. So they know they're not going to get the next election. Trump or DeSantis or whoever's coming back. They know what Republican, that's what all the polls say, right? So what they need to overturn this is for a Supreme, and I am not advocating anybody kill anybody.
Yeah, we're not doing it. Yeah.
This is, I think it's horrendous that they showed up at this dude's house, and it's actually a crime. It is a crime to a protest in front of a judge's house. It's not like a normal person. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do that. And they are not stopping them from doing this. They're actually protesting at their house. So they need one of these people to pass on or retire, and before Biden gets kicked out of office, so they can appoint somebody. And what do they need? It's 5-4 right now, right? No, 6-3. 6-3. So they need two. They need two justices to pass on or retire for them to have in the next 2.5 years before Biden gets kicked out of office, so that's the only way it would get overturned anytime in the next 2.5 years. I do believe that the Republicans are going to get back in office. So if it's not done in the next 2.5 years, nobody a Republican nominates is going to overturn it. So that's going to stall it for another 4 years. So now you're looking at a 6.5-year timeline, right? And let's say the Republicans poop the bed and actually, Jack, get out of here. Let's say they poop the bed and get kicked out. Then you've got to hope that somewhere in that 4 years, you can appoint some more justices. That's the only way.
Right. Now, guys, I mean, I heard a lot of great points in this. First things first, the creation of Planned Parenthood, the fact that woman was trying to control the population of Black people, or trying to decrease the population of Black people. That's some new information. My Black people that love to vote, Democratic and follow all the trends, realize it ain't as cut and dry as you think. I mean, y'all vote Democratic overwhelmingly. I think it's 90%.
Not quite. I think somewhere in the 80s.
80s.
About 80s.
And like I say, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's just something that you feel comfortable doing. But Democrats nowadays aren't Democrats. They have pushed out. It is they're a little extreme, and I feel like Republicans are turning into the Democrats of 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Because they have, you know what I mean? What's your thoughts on that? Go ahead.
Okay, so there's this weird inversion that's happening right now that's never happened, ever. Okay, where you have people like Bernie Sanders, who is, pro-labor, right? Pro-union. Bernie's all about the people, right? And pro-immigration at the same time. This is not a cohesive platform, because pro-labor means you want the people here to have the jobs. You want to bargain higher and higher wages for the people that are here. So if you go look at Bernie Sanders' speeches from 20 years ago, he sounds like Donald Trump, right? Close the border. Close the border. We got to close the border. They're coming over. They're taking our jobs. Da 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 da. Okay. So yes, everything has moved. What has happened is the Democrats have pivoted towards a couple things: the elite modes of communication. They've pivoted towards colleges, Hollywood, the news media, right? So they control these, and these are like loudspeakers. They're overwhelming. You can't get away from them. Social media, things like this. But because of this, they've become the class of the elites, because these are the new elites. The new billionaires are the new elites. So they've inadvertently turned away from the American worker towards immigrants. Imagine running for office in Mexico, saying, I want to bring a bunch of Americans here and give them benefits. It wouldn't work. It doesn't work anywhere except for Western societies, self-deprecating societies that are willing to look back on themselves and say, oh, maybe this was messed up. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. You go to the trans-Saharan slave trade was 20 times the size of the transatlantic slave trade, and it lasted for 1,000 years. And they castrated the black men because they had superstition about the black male anatomy. I'm pretty sure this is where, you ever seen Game of Thrones? I'm almost positive this is where the Unsullied come from. You know how the Unsullied they were slaves in a foreign land, and they were all eunuchs, and they kind of looked like they were black? I'm almost positive this is a nod to the Islamic slave trade. They put the women in harems, marched the men across the desert, castrated them, and then like 1 out of 30 men would survive, and that was fine because they were basically there for the women anyway. They already had slaves. You know what I mean? And then the men that would survive would be, they were eunuchs. They weren't dangerous. Whenever you castrate a man whenever he's young, it messes up his testosterone, and he won't grow into anything dangerous. You see what I mean?
Right.
So I forget why I went off on that rant.
Game of Thrones is enough. That's a good. Game of Thrones is what's one of my favorite shows. Yes, I play.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Well, you know how all of them in the movie, or all of them in the show, they kind of nod to different things. Remember, the one dude looks like he's from Spain, right? You know, Game of Thrones is after these are after two real families. What is it in the thing? It's the York and the Lannisters,
right?
Starks and the Lannisters. In real life, it's the Yorks and the Lancasters. There's Lancaster counties everywhere. Think about how many places you know of that have York County, Lancaster County.
Wow.
These are ancient families. These are ancient families in Europe that battled with each other. A lot of these are based on real characters, things like this, different things that happen. And then whenever they go to visit the Muslims, they're in Spain, right? Remember, they all look like they're Spanish. Well, this is whenever the Moors had conquered the Spanish, right?
Wow.
The Muslim influence.
Iberian Peninsula. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So all of these are they're not based on actual things, right? But it's all based on different stuff throughout time. Now, I couldn't find the actual reference to the Unsullied, but I'm almost positive. I can't see how it's not. They're clearly black. The Unsullied are clearly black. They were clearly slaves, and they were clearly eunuchs. The only place that I know in history where black eunuchs have existed that were slaves is in the Arab Empire. Right.
That is true. That is true. Who were the people that was carrying the dragon girl though? They're called was it Dothraki? What are they called?
Mongols. I believe they were the Mongols.
Mongols. Okay.
Right? The ones who couldn't be beat.
Mm-hmm.
They were wild horse people.
But wild horsemen. You got it. There you go. Wow, man. That is a great point. That is a great series, though. I don't like how it ended. I thought I think it ended a season before the ending. I count that as an ending. Yeah. But back to what we were saying, guys. Look, man, we're gonna keep hope alive in this thing. But I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not completely against what happened. That's just an unpopular opinion. I'm not a clean. I mean, I know social media, which is controlled by the Democrats, is going to hype a lot of y'all up. But at the end of the day, man, justice was served, as you can see. And I will say this: you're well versed. You said it was unconstitutional, right? What it was a bad law, and obviously the Supreme Court saw it your way. And a lot of things I will say about Democrats, when things are going their way, they're happy-go-lucky. But when justice is found to go the other way, it seems like they want to riot. So I just hope that doesn't go down, because it doesn't make y'all look good. At this point, and like I say, I'm a conservative, but I'll switch either way. I just want to go to who's the better president, or whoever, or whatever party is the best at the time. But it seems Democrats are they're getting out of control. Like they're losing it. I don't even know what a Democrat is. I know Republicans. Republicans are the new Democrats. I mean, they support LGBT in a way, slightly. They lean toward that, but not fully, I guess. I mean, they're the 2002 Democrat. I mean, I would just have to say so. It's pretty crazy, but I guess we're not gonna get too political on that. Oyster Sauce, I appreciate you. This is my first live, y'all. I don't really know what I'm doing. I just hit him up. Hey, we was chatting. I said, "Hey, you want to go live?" He was like, "Yeah," but hope y'all appreciate this. Check him out, Gangish. I'm a big fan of him. He's I've been a big fan of you when you first started. I remember you made that who was it? Gonzalo Lira. I really made the Gonzalo Lira post. That's what I was like, hey, this dude's pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, follow Gangish. Tell him what you got coming up.
I got episode 2 of Every Soul Shall Taste Death is coming out today. It ramps up. I promise you want to watch it to the end. You want to watch it till the final, or just put it this way: put it on, go to the final scene, and whenever you see the final scene, you go rewind it and watch the whole thing. It's like 25 minutes long, and it's episode 2. Episode 3 be out in about a week, probably. There's going to be 4 episodes altogether, and it's going to keep ramping up. You're going to see it starts tying in together.
Right. Now let's finish it off on this. Roe versus Wade overturned. Is it fair? I say yay. I say yeah. What do you say, Gangish?
It's constitutional. Fair? Is it fair? Probably not. But is it constitutional? Yeah.
We got to roll with it, man. So, like I say, guys, be safe out here. You know it's going to be a lot of drama. But, hey, at the end of the day, we all Americans, man. And it's, we got bigger fish to fry. It's a lot of stuff going on right now. so guys, don't do nothing crazy. But anyway, we're going to get out of here, man. It's the Coach Prenny podcast. Check out Gangish, and we're going to get out of here. Peace.
Later.